Hi everyone, this is Tuplex. Welcome back to Oxygen Not Included. The base is growing and growing and growing. You can see how much area we've explored, and we still have quite a bit left that's relatively unexplored. This is the rightmost extent of the map. Actually, you can see over here the edge of the map is neutronium, which we can't dig through. I think the entire map is 256 by 256 tiles, if I'm not mistaken. And it looks like, yeah, neutronium over here too. So this is the full width of the map from here over to there. Now in terms of height, well, it looks like we probably have more height than width. Here's neutronium down here, so this is the bottom of the map. And up here is the surface. Now what I've done since the last time we were together is I have dug up and up and up and up to get to the edge of the upper edge of the map. So, this is outer space, but this is where these red bars are. This is technically the edge of the map. You can't build any higher than this. And we can see, we can see meteors coming down and destroying my ladder. One thing I've done to help prevent that is built some bunker tiles up here. Bunker tiles and bunker doors are the only things that will stop meteors from destroying things. Okay, yeah, so as I was saying, bunker tiles and bunker doors will stop the meteors, but as you can see, some of the meteors come in at an angle, so they're still hitting my ladder in this case until I can get some more roof out there. So the next thing that we need to do is to build a telescope so that we can see the star map. We can start to analyze celestial bodies like asteroids and planets and things like that. And then after that, we'll start to build a rocket, or maybe even multiple rockets, to go out there, collect research data. We can gather materials from some of those planets and asteroids, moons and such. I've never gotten that far in the game, although in another save that I've been playing on the side, in addition to this one, kind of my personal game, I've been using that as a way just to kind of try to build things and test things before I do the same thing in this playthrough, just so that I don't have too much trial and error in this specific playthrough. I have managed to build and launch a few rockets, so it's pretty cool. So if you look at bunker doors, for example, and this is what we're going to start to do. We're just going to start to build a bunch of bunker doors all the way across here. Because what we want to be able to do is we want sky exposure that is protected so that we can use our telescope, because the telescope needs a clear line of sight. Actually, let me see here. I want this to go down. Yeah, I want 3 tiles of space. 2, 3. Alright, so I'm going to start building some ladder across there as well. I'm building the ladder out of mafic rock, just because there's a ton of it up here on the surface. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the bunker doors to a higher priority than the ladders. So my hope is that those will get built. And let's build a few more tiles out this way as well, so that we can hopefully prevent any asteroids from coming down and hitting my ladder. Okay, now the problem is that bunker tiles and bunker doors have to be made out of steel. So I'm queuing up a bunch of steel, but I have a bottleneck with lime. I'm not making lime fast enough to make as much steel as I would like to have. Now, if we go down to our factory here, we can see that we are waiting for eggshells and or pokeshell molts to make the lime. I do have some fossil gathered up, so we can make that with fossil too. Let me set that to a 6 priority so that we can hopefully get that quicker. So we're going to need a lot of steel. And this happened in my other game too. The lime seems to be... I don't think I want a pip right now. I'm just going to reject all of that. The lime seems to be the real bottleneck. Now you can make lime from fossil. So I've been digging down here to dig out as much fossil as I can. But there's a finite quantity of it. And the other thing is that you actually don't get a lot of lime from the fossil. If you look at this recipe, 100 kilograms of fossil only gives you 5 kilograms of lime. Whereas eggshells, you get a 1-to-1 ratio, which is very nice. And pokeshell molts will also give you 5 kilograms or 10 kilograms of lime. I don't know what, and I don't know why there's 2 different recipes here. I think it might depend on the size, because the pokeshells they'll molt when they grow from a baby to an adult, and I think they also leave one when they die as an adult, so that's probably the one that gives you 10 kilograms. So what we may want to do at some point is start ranching pokeshells. Now the issue there is that pokeshells eat polluted dirt. And polluted dirt, while a nuisance, they also eat rot piles. Polluted dirt, while it seems to be a nuisance at the beginning of the game, becomes harder and harder to come by once you start feeding them to your pokes. These guys eat 140 kilograms a cycle. So let's see, what have I got now? I've got 9 tons of it, so that's not going to last terribly long. But they can also eat rotten food. So what I've done in my other playthrough, just to see how it worked, was to grow mealwood but not collect it and just let it rot, and then I pick it up once it's rotten and feed that to the pokes. That helps too. But even with all that, they're constantly running out of food, so I'm not quite sure yet what is the best way to handle it. Now, I understand that pacus, which are the little fish, which you can sometimes find in polluted water. Here's one. They will eat algae and turn that into polluted dirt. So that's another thing that we could possibly do is, come up with a little ecosystem here. And then those will also give you a lot of eggshells. The pacus will, because they reproduce fairly quickly. So I'm thinking that perhaps a pacu farm in conjunction with pokeshell ranch could give us enough lime to keep the steel production going. And until then, anytime I see steel or lime show up in the printing pod, I am going to take it, or eggs for that matter. I'm definitely going to take those things. Here's a tropical one. That's interesting. I haven't seen one of those before. But you can see there's a lot of eggshells wherever these things live. So that'll come in handy. So anyway, that's something we're going to have to keep an eye out for. For glass, I think we're pretty much set for glass right now. I'm not making any more at the moment. Okay, so there's our first couple of bunker doors. Now bunker doors take 120 watts each to open and close. You can open them without power. They'll open very, very slowly. Even with power, they open and close slowly. They take a little over 30 seconds to open or close. And so ideally what we want to do is we want to open these up so we can use our telescope. But we want the doors to close before a meteor shower hits, because we don't want all of our base getting destroyed by meteors. So what we'll do is we will set up a few scanning stations, space scanners, I should say. These will scan the skies, and they'll send an automation signal when they detect incoming asteroids or meteors, and they'll close the door automatically. Now, these space scanners, they work as part of a network. So the more scanners you have active, the more quickly and reliably they'll be able to detect incoming meteor storms. With a single scanner, there is a possibility that it will detect a meteor shower too late for your doors, for your bunker doors to close completely before they start to hit. But with two scanners, you'll be able to, at least as far as I can tell, you'll be able to always detect them quickly enough to close the doors in time. So I'm going to set up a system where we have two space scanners and one telescope. Now the space scanners, let's just take a look here. If I put one here, they need like a 45-degree cone of space that's open with no tiles or other obstructions. Now they can see through ladders, and they can see through mesh tiles and airflow tiles. So we can put those above. Other than that, they need a nice clear area. So each scanner is going to require 8 bunker doors of space. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to build across 16 bunker doors. 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and I'm going to start. I'll start with the first 8, and we'll work on setting up the first array, and then the next one over is basically going to be a copy of that. Okay, so again, I'll prioritize the doors over the ladder. I don't want them to go out here, build all this ladder first, and then just have it get destroyed by meteors while we're waiting for the doors to get put in place. Now, the reason we build this on the very edge of the map is because when the meteors hit, they leave behind regolith, which is, it behaves a lot like sand. You know, when you dig through it, it falls down, and when you dig it, it leaves behind clumps. But you do have to dig it up first. When you build on the edge of the map, you'll get at most 2 tiles of regolith accumulating. Like you can see down here, there's like like right here we got 19 tiles of regolith. So the reason I build this up on the edge is so that we have at most 2 tiles deep of regolith to deal with. Because every time we open the doors, any regolith that's up on here is going to fall down, and it's going to collect like this above my scanners and my telescope. So we have to deal with that. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up some, where are they? Utilities? Refinement. Automation. No. There's an auto, or maybe it's shipping. Yeah. We're going to set up robo-miners. All on the top here. so that when the regolith falls, the robo miners will automatically mine it, and then it'll just drop into chunks like this, which do not interfere with scanners or telescopes. Okay, but we start with the doors because we need a roof to work under. Okay, now as I mentioned, these doors require a lot of power. So you can imagine when I've got 16 doors opening and closing, that's almost 2 kilowatts of power just to open and close the doors. And then we need to power the telescopes, we need to power the miners, etc., etc. So since we're going to have open access to the sky, take a look at our light overlay. We have lots and lots of light when it's daytime, not at night, but the rest of the time we have a lot of light available. So we are going to power all this with solar power and batteries. Okay, so let's start doing a little bit of planning here. And I'm referring to a photo that I took of what I built in the other base on my other screen here, so I can remember how to build it. But what we do is we build our doors. 3 tiles below that, we've got our ladders. And that is where we're going to put our robo miners. Okay, so the robo miners we're going to set up like here. I'll need to make some gaps in the ladder at some point. But they'll go like every 7 tiles, I think, we'll have a robo miner. Okay, and then the robo miner is going to have mesh tiles there and a couple of airflow tiles like that. So that way when the regolith falls, it doesn't entomb the robo miner. And then there's going to be another robo miner right here so that that one can clear the debris off the top of this one. Okay, hope that makes sense. So we'll start to build this up and you'll see that. So we'll have the robo miners, and then a few more tiles down we're going to have some mesh tiles that will catch all the regolith as it falls. And then the robo miners will work on that. They'll clear it out within a few seconds, and then all the sunlight will be coming down. We'll have a clear sky again. Now the telescope and the scanners can work when there are some tiles obstructed with regolith, but they won't work at full effectiveness until it's all cleared. Okay, so we'll have some mesh tiles. We'll have, let's see, what should I make these out of? I don't have much gold amalgam. These have to be made out of metal, so I think I'm going to have to make them out of iron ore. Yeah, my other map I had a ton of gold amalgam, and that's what I was using for a lot of this stuff, but in this case we'll have to use iron. Okay, and that is going to go, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then this is where we're going to have our mesh tiles, if I remember correctly. Let's see. Yeah, because the robo miner goes there. We'll have 1 tile underneath it, and then 2 tiles to walk below. Okay, and the reason that we have airflow tiles like that and mesh tiles above is that because since we're in the vacuum of space, there is nothing to dissipate heat from our machines. So the way these miners will be set up is we're going to have these tiles like this. We're going to put a temp shift plate right there. And then we're going to have a cooling system of petroleum going through here. We're going to put a little blob of petroleum on top of these tiles. Because there's a backing tile behind it, it won't evaporate into space. That's what the temp shift tile is for. And then that little blob of liquid with a radiant pipe passing through it will keep the robo miners cool. Otherwise, they'll just continue to overheat until they stop working and you know, they'll eventually melt. Okay, and then another 4 tiles below this. 2, 3, 4. At least I think it's 4. That's where we're going to put our space scanners. Yeah, that's just enough room. Okay, so when the regolith falls, it'll get trapped on these tiles. The robo miners will clear it, and then the space scanners will be able to do their thing. And then one of the issues with space scanners is that they need to have... Let me build a few more here. The space scanners can't have any machinery close by. So we're going to power all this with solar panels, since we're going to have all that sunlight coming in. But I have to build my solar panels far below the space scanners. Alright, so I'm going to start building solar panels down here. And then below that, we're going to build some banks of batteries, so that when it's dark or when the doors are closed, we can continue to generate power. Okay, so that's the basic setup. All right, so we've got our 8 doors. We've got our ladders. Now let's start to put in where the robo miners go. So the first robo miner is going to be aligned right here. And for that, I need to clear those 2 ladder segments. And this is going to take a while to build. So, you know, we'll do as much as we can in this episode, and then, you know, later on we'll... Alright, and these we want to make out of steel, so that they don't overheat. Okay, so the first one is going to be aligned with this last... or with this first bunker tile before the first door. Okay, and that's going to go right there. Okay. I'm going to need to clear that out too. And then we'll have a mesh tile here, a mesh tile there. And then the airflow tiles. Yeah, I think maybe I do have enough gold amalgam. I'll just make them out of gold amalgam until I run out. Okay, yeah, so one here, one there, and then airflow tiles there and there. And that's where our miner's going to go as soon as that ladder gets cleared out. Okay, and then we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tiles, or 5 ladder segments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. And then we repeat the process again. Okay, so that one goes there, that one goes there. Like that. And that way, this robo miner will have just enough range to clear anything that falls on top of the next one. Now you can see that part of the robo miner sticks out into open space, but it actually, that part of it doesn't get damaged by, or regolith won't pile on top of it, it'll just drop straight past it. Oh, it would help if I wasn't paused, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we clear 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We clear the next 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, and then the next 3 are clear. Alright, so after the 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we have that tile. Like that. And then... Okay. Ah, we got a new achievement. Let's see what we got. Block a meteor from hitting your base with a bunker door. Very nice. Okay. And then while that's going on, we can start putting in these tiles. And we can start putting in our scanner and telescope. Okay, so the first space scanner, which I think we can safely make out of lead because it doesn't get hot. We want the automation wire to be just in front of the third RoboMiner. Alright, so that's where scanner number 1 will go. And then we are going to clear 4 tiles next to it. And we're going to put 4 down a little bit lower. And that is where we shall place our telescope. Hang on. I'm not sure if I want to make that out of iron ore. Let me see what my other options are. I am running out of gold amalgam. Okay, we'll make it out of iron ore. And Dolly here is now stuck. So let's make these a high priority so that they're able to run back and forth. He's probably going to make a mess in his suit. But as long as the mess is contained over here, it's not a big deal. Okay, so let's start placing solar panels. Now what we're going to do for the panels is we're going to put these, the first set of panels is going to be down here where I have this little ladder thing drawn out. And we're going to build these in a pyramid, sort of a structure. Okay, let me move that. I'll mark it with that. There we go. Power. Solar panels. Okay, so we're going to make a pyramid of 7 solar panels. Starting here. So let me see how high I want to make these. These can be spaced 2 tiles above one another. Something like that. So 1, 2, 3, and then 1 on top. Now the one on top is aligned with that scanner, if I remember correctly. Okay, so that goes there, and then each one below, we line its power plug with the tile right to the edge of the panel above it. Like that. Okay, so that's our solar panel array for this section. And I'm going to add another bunker door just to give us some extra protection out here on the edge. Okay, we can start putting in our RoboMiners. Right, so you can see how the steel gets used pretty quickly. Alright. Now one good thing about these panels is that the base of the solar panel acts as a tile. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to just connect these rows with ladder segments. And that'll allow us to run through here and build everything. Okay. And then we'll dig out all the rest of it, including some space below. Okay, but I would rather build all this first, if you don't mind, fellas. Okay, so you can see how this miner is just one tile to the right of the first bunker door, and then this miner is just one tile to the right of the next set of 8 bunker doors. So this is eventually going to be a fairly wide setup. And then down here, we're going to build rooms full of batteries to store the charge. And I'm also going to build the chilling system that we're going to use to provide cooling to the battery boxes as well as the robo-miners. The battery boxes we're going to fill with hydrogen. Because again, we're out here in space, and in a vacuum there's no heat transfer. So anything that needs to be cooled, it needs either a gas or a liquid around it so that there's a medium of heat exchange. Okay, there's our telescope. Now that we have that built, we should be able to see the star map. Okay. So we're starting with destinations that are 10,000 kilometers away. There are 2 of those, and we'll start to analyze those first. And then each one we analyze, we'll get some information about it that tells us what type of object it is, what sorts of materials there are, and so on. And then as we get farther and farther away, there are more and more objects to scan. And the farthest object is 190,000 or 180,000 kilometers away. And that's what we need for the big achievement. The Great Escape. We send a duplicate on a one-way mission to the farthest star map destination. That's going to be our objective. Alright, let's see what we got. We have some eggs. Do I want shine nymph eggs? You know what, I'm going to take the Drecklet eggs, because I think those give us more eggshells than the shine nymphs do. And I need those for my lime. And okay, yeah, and we're already set to crack those open for omelets. Alright, so this is coming along nicely. Alright, so up here on these doors, we're going to connect these with automation wires. You have to use steel automation wires. Otherwise, the heat from the regolith will melt the wires. You can see it's only, this one's only 80C, but on the second layer you can see it's 231C. So I tried before building these automation wires out of lead and they melted very quickly. Okay, and then I'm going to pass... okay. So the scanner is going to be detecting meteor showers. Now the scanner sends a green signal when it detects the meteor showers. The bunker door, if we look at the automation overlay, the bunker door opens when it gets a green signal. Okay, so we have to use a NOT gate to invert the signal coming from the scanner. Otherwise it'll open when we want it closed and vice versa. Okay, so I'll put a NOT gate here. I think the NOT gate can be made of lead. It's really the wires up here that need to be, whoops, that need to be tough. But I'll just make everything out of steel, otherwise I'll forget, and I'll just end up having to replace it at some point. Okay. So then this way the scanner will tell us when to turn things on and off. And then for the power, we're going to have to use conductive wire. And again, we'll make the wire out of steel as well. Okay, and I haven't decided yet how I'm going to run power up there, but we'll get to that once we build our battery boxes. Now these solar panels are all going to be connected with heavy watt wire. And I'll make that out of iron ore just because that's what I have the most of right now. So what we'll do is we'll take the output of the solar panels, whoops, and we'll run those to our battery boxes, and then we'll have some transformers and things inside the battery boxes so that those can be cooled as well. And those will distribute the power to all of these devices I have out here. We'll probably have to get into that in more detail next time, since this is going to take a little while to build. How are we doing on steel? We're down to 6.8 tons. Have we any lime? Okay, I have 10 whole kilograms of lime. And I'm completely out of fossil. So right now we're just waiting for eggshells. And I won't get eggshells until I hatch more eggs. And I'm back. Sorry about that. I had to answer a phone call. Okay, where was I? Oh yes, we need lime. Let's see. I've got 8 critters in each of these. And nothing for this guy to do. That's fine. And once I collect a few, I think 5 incubators is actually a little bit more than what you need to keep these populated. So every once in a while we'll have some extra critters. But yeah, I need more fossil and or more eggshells. What is this guy? Oh, that's a tropical pacu and a little tiny one too. So maybe what I can do is let's stop cracking fry eggs. And let's stop cracking tropical fry eggs so that we can set up a farm for pacus, and we'll set up another farm or a ranch for poke shells so that we can hopefully get some more lime. In the meantime, I think the only thing I can do is dig up more fossil. So let's look for some more fossil. Go to mineral, and that's this orange stuff. Oh, I've got a lot of fossil down here. Okay, so maybe that's not the problem. Let's raise the priority on my collection bin here. Let's make that a 7. Yeah, because look, I have 21 tons of fossil. It's just not over here. So we'll raise the priority on this bin, and that way they'll be a little more anxious about getting that stuff brought over so that we can continue making steel. Yeah, I still have a lot of steel queued up. That one's done. Okay. And I should make more iron. I've got a lot of iron ore, which is good. So I'll just queue up 99. Yeah. I'll just queue up 99 iron and get that going. Okay, and then the other thing I can do off camera is just start going through these slime biomes. Oh, who's this little fella? A morb. They excrete polluted oxygen. Yeah, I don't think I want any of those. But anyway, I'll start digging through these slime biomes. That'll get me more gold amalgam. We can turn some of it into gold for cases where we need refined metals. And then I can start collecting some pakus. And we'll get that farm set up. Now we keep seeing this message, missing research station, and that's because I'm ready to finish this off, but it needs the virtual planetarium, which I haven't built yet. So we can build it, but we can't use it until our first rocket returns from space, because you need science packs from outer space, kind of like you do in Factorio. So I think I'll just put it over here, and we'll have to build a couple more tiles under it. I won't power it just yet, but hopefully that message will go away until we can use it. Okay, let's see how we're doing up here. So we're just waiting for them to bring glass. This hasn't been built yet. We're waiting for steel. Now this says we're waiting for lead. What's up with that? That's lead. I most certainly do not want lead. So let's take that apart. I don't know why it gave me lead in the first place. Maybe I didn't have... I guess I didn't have steel selected. Okay, steel automation wire, that's what I want. The telescope needs oxygen. And I need hydrogen. Got a meteor shower coming in. I need hydrogen for... I need hydrogen to fill my battery room. And I'm going to need a little bit for my cooling system as well. So somewhere around here I'll set up an electrolyzer. I've got a lot of water down here actually around this cool steam vent, so I can just use that for the electrolyzer. And then I won't even have to run it through a sieve. And I don't care what the temperature is, so it's very convenient to have this here. We could also use salt water. Ooh, there's some fossil in there. That's nice. Okay, yeah, that's good to know. Now, another thing I want to be careful of, I think we talked about these creatures that live out here, these shovels. I want to make sure I keep an abyssalite layer between the rest of my base and the surface. And wherever I can have... Now, I don't know if they can get through a transit tube crossing. So one thing I can do is... Well, I have abyssalite there. I'm just going to trust that they can't get through there. They also can't use ladders, and they can't jump across any gaps that are more than 2 tiles. So whatever I build over here, I want to try to leave a gap of a couple tiles so that they can't jump up and start squirming around in whatever I've built. And I am going to... We'll make a 2-tile gap over here as well. And they can't go through any refined metal tiles. Bunker tiles are made from steel, so those count. They can't get through bunker tiles or any other metal tile that's made from refined metals. So I'm just going to be careful of that as we're building here to try to prevent them from getting inside my base. Okay, and then I'm thinking we can build a battery box underneath here. The design I'm using is rather large. It'll take up most of this space. But we'll get all this built first. And then, like I said, we're going to build another one of basically this same thing. We're going to build again one time so that we can get our second scanner set up. But we only need one telescope. We don't need two telescopes. So the next one over will only have the scanner with no telescope next to it. Why do we put the telescope right next to the scanner? I don't know. No good reason. It could be anywhere, really. And then my plan is to build the rocket silo over here on this side. Because I'll need to dig down a little bit deeper, and here the abyssalite dips down, so I can build a big rocket silo here. We'll put the floor of it down here where this ladder piece is shown. Okay, looks like we got another present. Glass or spicy tofu. Well, glass is easy to make. I think I'll take the tofu. Speaking of that, we're doing very well on food. I've got... Let's see what we've got here. Like, just looking at the good food. Look, we get 16 morale for spicy tofu, so that's awesome. Barbecue gives us +8. I've got 175,000 calories of barbecue. I've got 405,000 of eggs. 150,000 from frost buns. So I think I'm going to turn off fried mushrooms. I'm going to turn off everything. You know, I've got a ton of pickled meal, but I'm not going to let them eat that until they're starving. So our dupes are all eating very well. And I have a ton of it available. In fact, at some point I might... In fact, this might be a good time. Maybe I should just shut down the grill for a while. Because why bother continuing to make so much food when I've got a lot of it here already? I can still collect meat. You know, I can pile up an infinite amount of meat in here, so that's not an issue. I do want to keep cracking eggs, though. So I want more storage for... raw egg. I had to make a couple more boxes over here because I was... Oh, these won't be able to pick up raw eggs. I could use this to pick up raw egg, though. Yeah, I could pick up raw egg with this, put it there, and then that'll drop down there as well. Or I could just place it in there manually. It doesn't have to be automatic. Alright, so I'll keep the egg cracker going, but I think I'm just gonna disable the grill for a while. Because I have so much food. And that way my chef can work on other stuff. Okay, and yeah, let's put a priority 6 on these guys too. And then hopefully all the food will continue to get stored properly. I want to keep cracking eggs because I want those eggshells for the lime so I can keep making steel. Alright, let's see how we're doing up here. This is coming along very nicely. Right, and then the next set of solar panels is, let's see. This tile lines up with, looks like the second tile of my bunker door, which would be like right here. Yeah, so we can have a space of one tile and then another set of these panels for the next setup. Okay, and then I can start roughing out the design here of the battery box, so you can see what that's going to look like. Okay, so again, I'm going to use Mafic rock. It's going to be encased in insulated tile, like this. Hopefully I don't need to go any... well, I can always move the tube somewhere else. Okay, and then we'll have 2 tiles, and then we'll have another floor of mesh tile, like that. And then I'll have a ladder go down the middle. Oops. Insulated tile. And then more insulated tile below. Okay, now this is where I'm going to need some protection from the voles. But in any case, this thing is going to be packed full of smart batteries. So we'll have 5 on that side, 5 there. Now these are all lead, but I'm actually not going to make them out of lead because they'll get too hot. Perhaps. What's the overheat temperature on a lead battery? Let's see. Smart battery made out of lead. Melting point is 327. Maybe I can make them out of lead. Let's see where else I have some. I think these are lead. Yeah, this one's made out of lead. Overheat temperature 55 degrees. Yeah, that's no good. So we'll have to make them out of copper or iron or something like that. I don't think we need steel, but something better than lead. Okay, and then up here we are going to have 1, 2, 3 large power transformers. Okay. And then we can cancel that, cancel that. All right, so this is essentially what the battery box is going to look like. And then here in the middle, I am going to have a gas vent so that we can, once this is built, we can pump in some hydrogen. And hydrogen is really good for cooling as a cooling medium because it has a high specific heat. Let me find some hydrogen on the map. Okay. So if you look at the properties of hydrogen, specific heat capacity 2.4. Okay, so that means it takes 2.4 DTUs per gram of hydrogen to raise the temperature by 1 degree. What do we get from a DTU? Well, a smart battery makes 500 DTUs per second. Okay, so one battery, 500 per second, can heat a kilogram of helium by 1 degree in 2, 4, like it'll take about 5 seconds for one battery to heat 1 tile of 1,000 grams of hydrogen by 1 degree. So the hydrogen can absorb a lot of heat, and it can therefore transfer a lot of heat to our cooling system. If you look at chlorine, for example, the heat capacity is only 0.48. It's much lower, holds much less heat. Oxygen is 1. Carbon dioxide, 0.8. So that's why you'll see in the game, you'll see a lot of people use hydrogen for cooling, just because it can hold a lot of heat. And it's easy to make because it's an easy byproduct of electrolysis. So we'll electrolyze some water. We can send oxygen to the telescope. Now the telescope doesn't use very much, so we'll send some to the telescope, and then the rest we can pipe down to our base. And if it backs up, we can just dump it into space. And then the hydrogen we can use to, we'll pressurize this box with like 2,000, 2,500 grams of hydrogen. And then we'll run our cooling pipe through there. And that'll keep the batteries nice and cool. And then we'll use that same cooling loop to run past all of our robo miners as well. And that'll keep everything from overheating. Okay, so I'm going to build this here. I'll build another one over here. And then in between, I'll have a few tiles where I can build in my cooling system here in the middle. That's the plan. Okay, well, that's going to do it for this time. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any questions or comments, and I will see you all next time. Take care. Bye-bye.